intro because this is really cool. We've just popped out of the clouds here. This is the first time I've seen the ground properly since we left. Since I ended the video when we punched in the cloud from Newcastle, and this is pretty awesome. This is the Pyrenees, but wow, that's so cool. Of the things I was expecting to see today, snow was not one of them. Anyway, back to the intro. Very good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to the YouTuber here on the channel. Well, that went straight into APA voice, didn't it? This is our arrival into Ibiza with the TUI 737-800 by PMDG. Words are hard this afternoon. We've won our way down from Newcastle, currently roughly from Barcelona. So it's about time to start thinking about doing some approach planning. So let's jump in the front and let's see what we can just about do. So you can see that's Barcelona then. Corda is actually the start of the star, so we should probably start plugging that away. So we'll do our arrival into Ibiza, and I'm going to do an ILS onto runway 24, ILS Yankee 24, and record a 4 November. Execute that. Go to the legs page to make sure that links all through. Yes, it does. And yeah, got a bit of a pushback on that approach. Now, what we'll do is we'll go to our initial ref page, and we're going to start thinking about approach plans. Now, what we'll probably do is get the charts up, shouldn't we? Self-chart there on bap, boop, bip. So this is the chart for Ibiza, bap. And so you can see this is Corda, so this is where we come in from. Come down the approach path. There's no altitude restrictions here until we need to, at Negre we need to be at or above 5,000 feet. Then at Ibiza, our IB713, we need to be at 3,000 feet, and then 738, or at or above 3,000, at or above 3,000, then Gislu at or above 3,000. We do get a speed restriction, so at Negre, 220 knots, and so it's maximum 210 knots. That's what? That'll be, yeah. That waypoint makes no sense, but anyway, yeah, it's maximum 220 knots, at or above 5,000. 210, and probably we'll just aim for 210 by 710, and sort of wing our way in from there. Now that is our approach stuff. Now let's have a look at the ILS. So we're going to come in on the ILS 241 109.5. Now we are a Cat D aircraft any day of the week, so we've got our visuals, but I need altitude. So we're not doing circle to lands. I want my decision altitude. Is that saying 50? I've forgotten how to read charts, guys. That's quite impressive. So what we shall do is so 290 feet. So we'll plug that in. So it's 272. Yeah, 272 on the radar. So it's 272 radar is our decision height, which we should be well committed by looking at that at the approach there. So what we'll do, we'll go back to the aircraft. So 19.5241, which is what we agreed. So what we'll do is we'll plug away. And then we'll plug in our ILS, which is going to be... And then we'll swap the frequencies around, so that will now start giving us that. So that's a bit dodgy. It's saying about 5 miles, so there's something else on a frequency of 109.5 that we're picking up here. Right below us, that is Barcelona, the city that doesn't want tourists, but also is heavily reliant on tourist income. I love a good little thing like that. Now we said our radar was going to be 272 feet, so I'll quickly scroll that up. You can see it takes forever to scroll this. 272 as briefed. And lastly, what are our surface winds? So surface winds at present are 250 at 27, gusting 40. So we'll split the difference. We'll say 35. That's going to be a fast landing, isn't it? So flap 30. what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for 155 knots. So do 30/155, which, yeah, it gives us some additional scope, but we should see our ground speed actually knocked it below 146. So I can plug that in, and that is pretty much us ready. So we've got another. So these winds have been insane for the entire journey. So for most of the journey, we've been into a headwind of 80 odd knots, which is just stupendous. So in fact, what I can do, I'll update that just to say this is what our cruise winds are, because that'll then adapt our top of drop. How was it? How did I do it before? Was it like? No, it wasn't legs. It was. That's stupendous. How did I do it before? I think. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't care. So we'll leave that in. We'll leave this page up on here. That page can stay on there. And like I say, we are sort of on our way down here. I've not pulled the information through from SimBrief, but you can see pretty decently where we are. That's what gives you an idea. So we've wung our way over France, over the top of Spain, and we're now approaching Corda, and then that's our arrival into Ibiza. So I'm going to do a jump cut, and I'll see you guys when we're a bit closer. To showcase how incredibly easy it is in this aircraft to do top of descent. So we're about a minute from TOD now. I'm just going to scroll the altitude down to 3,000 feet, which is our first sort of lower level restriction. So just scroll away. There you go, 3,000 feet, that's in the window, and I'll just jump back when we start to attempt to intercept the glide slope. I was completely distracted there. That's how simple it was. The descent's now ongoing. We're now dropping at 3,000 feet per minute. The engines are rolling back. We're pitching for airspeed, and we're just going to descend lovely and quickly down to 3,000 feet. Alright, I'll see you guys when we get a bit closer. So as we pass through at 17,000 feet, a thought has hit me that we didn't actually look at our landing rails. So the runway here is 9,100 feet long, so really we could do that in auto brake low and minimum reverse and roll off at the end and back taxi. However, I'm aiming to come off at Echo 6 to then enter the apron to go and park obviously near the terminal. So probably looking at like, we'll figure out one of the stands, probably stand 26, is probably what I'll request from GSX. So Echo 6, it's going to be about 2/3 of the way down the runway. So sort of round numbers, that gives us about 6,500 feet landing roll. So I'm going to use auto brake step 2, and we'll use reverse upon landing for our landing roll. So, well, yeah, we use auto brake 2. The options are obviously off, which I don't think you'd ever use. 1, which just applies it gently. 2, 3, and max. The auto brake goes through the anti-skid system, so it brakes a bit better than we do if we use our foot pedals. Or you can land with an upward water brake, but it's just not common, basically, as far as I'm aware, to land without using the auto brake. So what we'll do is we'll go to the FMS page and we'll just get the progress page up. So we've burnt quite a bit more fuel than I was anticipating just due to the weather, but we are landing in a pretty good place. Obviously the plan is not to use that much fuel now because we're just gliding down. However, as we drop through 14,000 feet, seatbelt sign goes on, and we shall zoom ourselves in. I'm trying to think, do I want to keep this up? I probably do, to be fair. Yeah, we're doing pretty good for altitude. To be fair, I've got quite a bit of time still, but no, we'll keep it rolling. We'll keep the camera rolling. As you can see, we obviously took off with full wing tanks and some centre fuel. Centre fuel's fully gone. Wing tanks are now about roughly equal as well, which is good. That's a good shout. Where's it gone? APU, where have you gone? There it is. Hiding between the light switches. There we go. Now we're descending into moisture. I'm just going to turn my ignition switches to continuous now. And that is just going to, basically, so you do that as you're on approach. And I think the idea is that if you lose the engine, it'll relight a bit quicker and on its own, because the ignitions systems are now firing away in there, because just firing away constantly. Which is, it's standard procedure on the 7.3s. When you're sort of coming in for approach. We're to be honest, a bit early for it, but not the end of the world. Last thing to do, I guess. I'm going to be really overconfident here. I'm just going on my speed like. There we go. So just like, I'm hoping the aircraft's managed this flawlessly, and it'll get us in. So you can sort of see the chicane we're going to fly here. So you come sort of Negre, 710, 711, 712, 713, 730, Gislu, and then that's in the final approach fix, which is 24. Well, for 24, because that's where we're landing. There's final approach 24, yeah. Yes, CI. I wonder what CI is, but FF is final fix. So we should be in a pretty good little place there. Put it into simple mode. Yeah, winds out at 250, so winds are coming from sort of this direction, but mostly head on at the aircraft. I may step the speeds up slightly as we come in. In fact, let's just do it here. No. Performance. How to do it? That's how I can see performance upon this aircraft. That's handy to know. Arrival. Is it just that? Yes. Performance tool. Landing. Landing en route. Import. Can I? No. Cool. LEIB. Ibiza to 4. Conditions are wet. Flap 30. We should import this from the aircraft. Flap 30. AC config will remain on. Anti-ice off. Reversers. All operative. Auto brakes step 2. And VREF. We added 155. We added 9. And we'll import the weather from the sim, and we'll figure it out. That's actually, yeah, that's roughly where I want it to be. So that works for me. So yeah, required landing distance is 7,658 feet, which is sort of vaguely where I want it to exit. Bear in mind that's to a stand. We'll exit about 40-50 knots, or 45 knots, sort of what you target for the exit at. So yeah, that's actually pretty well guesstimated on my part. It just shows, obviously, you know, it's important you do the calculations and you do everything properly. However, if you're in a pinch and you sort of have a vague understanding of the of your steed, when I say vague understanding, probably a fairly respectful understanding, you could probably guesstimate it, but yeah. Again, though, you should never guesstimate when if you're in aviation. That's literally how you kill people. It's been a nice little evening, this. I'm actually going to check the video to see how long we've been en route for, because I'm not 100% sure here. And we'll just go pause as soon as this loads, because you hear my voice. My voice! And I want to... Jabba-jahua! Jabba-jahua! There we go. So finding a moment where I'm actually looking at the clock in this is incredibly hard. Fucking remembering where the clock is in this is incredibly hard. So we started our taxi out, which I'm gonna go for military times here, 10:06 local time. So I've been in the air for just, wow, that's quite a long time. That's the headwind's done a lot of that though, because like I say, 85 knots a headwind, that'll do that to you, you know. And we've obviously been at the aircraft's not going to be drag. Nope, the aircraft's quite happy it can do this. You know, we've had an 85 knot headwind most of the way, but still that's just under 3 hours airtime. Which is, that feels longer than it should be, to be fair. Well, 3 hours, I would say, yeah. We've got 3 hours by the time we land. Yeah, so 3 hours gate to gate. We'll take it. I'm also recording so much flight sim right now, it's unreal. So I'm desperately in need of getting some train sim recorded because I'm running out of route loading videos. So a bit of context. Today's the 27th of January, and you guys are watching this at most of the end of February. In terms of train sim videos, I am recorded as far as the 9th of February. So I've basically got 2 left to go out because it's Tuesday. And I need to desperately record more because I'm just like, planes are fun. I like planes. So I've done obviously TFDA MD-11 so far. I'm aware the end of that video went wrong. I'll probably end up recording a different segment of like an approach and landing in the MD-11. But I am actually proving to myself and to you guys that I can fucking land planes in this simulator. Yeah. When we got bush flying again soon, I'm excited for that. I mean, when I say bush flying, like, that was the things that go to Kielder, which was, I thought, quite fun. But I do want to do some GA stuff, because I think even IFR in GA aircraft is so much harder than it is in one of these. Because in this, the aircraft's flying itself. I'm pretty hands-off. I'm just sitting here gassing with you guys. And, yeah, like, it's very different. Very different. So I've got a DME of 18 miles by the time, well, it's going to be a lot more than 18 miles by the time we turn to finals. But we're in a pretty good place. What I can actually do is just do, no. I'm just waiting to put, I swear you can push that thing. No, apparently not. Speed intervention, there we go. So just leave it at 210 knots for now. And we'll just do that, and I'm going to go, basically, this just is a way for us to speed up our arrival somewhat. As we're dropping through 10k and I'm on my own, external lights on, ignition still continuous, APUs come on bus, APUs off, packs are all set correctly for the arrival. Recall, no faults, outstanding. It's almost like I've done something right. I do also think it's actually quite impressive that I've not really flown this aircraft in... So obviously I've done, except for videos, I've not really flown it in about 5 years. That, you know, since MSFS, I've pretty much parked P3D. Like, since well, so it was P3D was the last time I would have flown this. And, you know, so pretty much COVID, like at the start of COVID before I discovered DCS. And I think that's actually, like, the fact that my brain can pull this pretty much 6 years later. I don't understand my brain. Like, how can I pull processes like this, which are fairly niche, not particularly sort of well thought out, those kinds of manoeuvres. But, yeah. Anyway, we're at over 3,000 now, which we are nailing. We're slightly below profile, which is great. It's absolutely fine to be there. I'm not going to check the ILS up yet, but we can just sort of glance at it, I guess. So use approach mode, but it's still 23 miles, so it's quite a ways to run. We're mandated, obviously, by the star to be at or above 210, which we're doing, obviously. But it's great that we can obviously just drop in here using minimal amounts of power in the aircraft and just drop ourselves down nice and lovely. Like, obviously tiny amounts, but, you know, for all intents and purposes, we're gliding down here. This is going to mess things up. So QNH here was zip, zap, QNH 29050. From the METAR, that was 999. That's very low. So it's going to drop us down quite substantially, but oh well. What we can do is just... no, oh god. I went very deep there, didn't I? And 999. It's 5,500 feet. We're 500 feet below, which is fine. But it just shows how much of a difference you can get in your barrel rack and stuff by the time that all kicks on. Looks absolutely gorgeous, just does the 7.3. So there we go, that's now just scrolling everything, having everything set nice and perfect, nice and pretty. And then we can just, we're on final approach now really, so what I'll do is just scroll that to that. What is our altitude for that? It's 2,000 feet. What we'll do, we'll just put 2,000 in the box. That's where I'll have the aircraft descend us to, because that's the final descent point, and then it's 3,000 for the go-around, but we can set that up later on. We're actually not that far off the glide slope here. So what I could do, being snazzy here, just click approach mode on. very early in the, like very, very far out, like 16 mile DME is insane. But just go a vertical speed. Slow it down a bit and just let it catch up. And then MCP speed set to 208. And we're just going to coast it down, really. Probably a bit less, well, it is definitely a bit less efficient, but I don't really care. From the point when we get glide slope capture, though, I'm going to go... No, well, now you know I'm using FS traffic. I am, from the point that we get glide slope capture, just going to shut up, though, and again, focus on flying the aircraft. In fact, no, I'll do it from 1,000. I'll do it from 1,000, because I feel like we're going to be here a minute. If I... yeah. So still 13 DME, 210 knots. Wait, look at our ground speed though. So we've got headwind of 40 odd knots. So that will be contributing to why it feels like we're descending quicker than we are. Because 550 feet per minute. So 550 feet per minute is quicker at 170, 180 knots ground speed than it is at 250 knots ground speed, right? Best way I can describe this, if you're doing 120 knots of ground speed, then you're doing 2 miles in every minute. So that means that if you're descending at 100 feet per minute, over 2 miles, you've descended 100 feet, right? Whereas if you are doing 60 knots, 100 feet per minute, you've descended 100 feet in a mile or 200 feet in 2 miles. So it sort of changes how things feel. In terms of 40 knots at this low level is pretty intense. I feel quite sorry for people who are doing this as a whole way. Alright, we're going to get capture there momentarily. 1,000 to go. At 9 miles. Glide slope capture, perfect. I'm now just going to pull the speed back to 180 knots, we'll go with. I'm just going to close the throttles. Nothing too snazzy. Oh god, okay. Flap 1. Just to increase the drag a bit. So, when we pop out the cloud, if our flight path vector... And radar's alive. Yeah, so we should basically see the runway roughly where the flight path vector is. So the HGS system, in really simple terms, that's my heading, that's how much I'm rolling, that's where the aeroplane's flying, that's where the aeroplane's pointing. Altitude, airspeed, bit of an HSI repeater, a bit of sort of navigational data, I guess, and speed indicator. So I'm just going to leave the aircraft to fly itself here. 2,000 feet, we'll continue the approach past this now. Our go around altitude is 3,000 feet. As much as we're aiming to land, we're planning to go around. Otherwise, the aircraft is set. We've got word from the cabin that they're ready for landing. We obviously don't have the Cat 3 here in Ibiza, but we are able to land the aircraft ourselves, which is absolutely fine. This wind is going to be fun. I feel like we're going to be landing very fast today. Look at our ground speed already. I'm going to probably slow down quite late. Remind me. About 15 to 200 knots. Yeah, let's do that. So what I'm going to do, because I want to get some more drag into the aircraft, flap 2, flap 5, flap 10. And that should be flap 15. And then wait for that to extend, and we'll chuck the gear out. Yep. That's the aircraft warning me. And I'm putting the gear down. Oh, and that was a... So, okay, sterile cockpit. This has crept up on me, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to increase the auto brake to step 3. Out of an abundance of caution. we are just about stable, I guess. Airfield in sight. Balls.
500.
Balls. Double balls. Whoa, this aeroplane is struggling today.
400. Approaching minimums.
Continue approach,
Sink
please.
rate.
Minimums.
Bit slow.
Sink rate.
Bit
Glide
slow.
One hundred. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Anyone? Can anyone tell me what I got wrong there? If you guessed, landed with flap 15, not flap 30. Hashtag oops. Welcome to Any Builds Ibiza. Off. So. I know I'm just scrolling away here, but I do try to clean the aircraft up. So speed brake away. Auto throttle's off. That goes off. Speed brake's off. Flaps are nearly up. Landing lights, landing lights go off. Taxi lights go on. Ignitions go off. APU goes on bus. There we go, and we'll taxi forward. Now we said 25.
The requested position is already assigned to another aircraft.
Yep. No follow me required. And we'll go with ground force, sure. There we go. So, oh, I need to knock off my TCAS, because the other pilots will hate me for that. I'm just going to quickly get my chart up on my other monitor so I can review that. Parking docking, we said 25. Should be rough. Third stand on the right, roughly. Oh, is it saying that aircraft's already in it? What we'll do, I'll stop. Yeah. We'll... Can I tell them to clear the aircraft out? There we go. We'll pull on the stand now. Parking lot. No. Taxi light goes off. I'm going to do the snazzy thing and chuck my one of my engines off, but no, I'm not doing that. Oh. What I'll do, I'm going to change my parking there to 25B. Because I've lined up for completely the wrong spot here. What am I lined up on here? Okay, you know what? Ta-da! Oh my god! I definitely just edit that out. So 2 engines offline, off, off. And the NG can run both packs. We'll turn... And what's our N2 looking like? N2, we'll wait for it to drop below 15, that'll do me. And we can turn the beacon lights off. And we'll go steady on the position lights. Everything else is set up correctly. Off. I'll go back to the external view. And we'll say GSX. Let's disembark the aircraft.
Deboarding requested.
So there you have it, folks. That is us arriving into Ibiza. That got a bit hairy on that approach. To be honest with you, the autopilot probably didn't handle that as well as it should have. But that was pretty awesome. You know, I think, have I made better landings in? Hang on. In the sim that is flight. Yeah, of course I have. But overall, come on, game. Let me look at my plane. Thank you. You know, overall, that was pretty cool. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like the video if you did. Subscribe to see more from me on a regular basis. No ground power required, 1 APU today. We'll quickly open the doors up, and we'll go to the showcase camera and watch everyone getting off. So we'll go do a cabin crew disarm doors for arrival.
Passengers deboarding starting.
There we go, and we'll go to the showcase cam. I will reset the camera, and we will... Oh, there's no actual windows on these. Yeah, that's a shame. Well, anyway, thank you guys for watching. Like I said, like the videos if you did. Subscribe to see more from me on a very regular basis. Until next time, happy flying.